or?
You don't need to mute anything. I'm muted. If anybody logs in here, just turn your volume all the way down. Because I was muted. It was just my calling.
Okay. All right, so let's get started. Day 3. How's the homework?
Good. That's great.
Yeah?
That's good.
Yeah? We get through it? Yeah?
Did anybody not get through the homework because of non-technical virtual environment related issues?
Everyone got through the homework?
Did anybody not get through the homework?
I did not get the homework. It was not environment related.
What was yours? Do you have a technical problem? Or was it just
No, I didn't even remember to do it until I walked in today.
Okay, so we do have a lot to go over today. So today, going to be more hacking, less of me talking, so even more of that. We'll start with a little homework review. Might skip that just because we're starting a little bit late. But so we're going to start by setting up just a basic Blast project, setting up routes, setting up SQLite, just like we did last time. That'll be a review. Then we're going to look at some data, and we're going to clean that up a little bit, dump it into the database, and then I'm going to show you how to access that by Flask, and then we're going to add Bokeh on there so we can visualize it. So what we're going to be building is this right here. So this is like about 22,000 rows of data. This is just greenhouse data from, I think it's Rick's greenhouse.
Rick's not Enzonite.
Rick's not Enzonite, but this is directly from his greenhouse. So it's just grabbing temperature over time. Not sure what's going on over there, but yeah. So
Outlier.
yeah.
That's when the throw was in Rick's pocket.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the inside temperature or the outside temperature, but yeah. Okay. Anyways, this is what we're building. So, quick homework review. Let's skip that. So let's just dive right in. Unless anyone is really dying to show off what they did.
Did anyone have like terrible technical problems with it? I think it's pretty straightforward.
Everyone got the bouquet?
Sure it's not Boca.
Boca? I think it's bouquet. It sounds bouquet. Bouquet sounds a little nicer, right?
It comes from, the Japanese word.
Really?
Yeah, the Japanese effect of the blurred lights in the background is blurred.
Huh. Maybe it's Boca. Maybe it is Boca. I don't know.
But the guy, I forget who started it,
Yeah.
says he doesn't want to slide.
Yeah.
All say Bokeh.
I think it's based on a JavaScript framework. He just abstracts it out. I think. But yeah, Boca, bouquet.
I like Boca because it takes ugly data and it's great.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so objectives for today. We are going to answer the question, what is Bokeh? Why would you want to use Bokeh over a different charting library, such as, what are you guys used to, Matplotlib? Yeah. Well, it's also Bokeh is like for the web. It's like Matplotlib. Can you put Matplotlib on the web?
Yeah, there's a Band-Aid.
Can you take like a screenshot? You can take a screenshot maybe and put it on there.
What about D3?
So D3, we'll talk a little bit more about some other charting libraries, but the reason why you wouldn't want to use D3 is D3 is very JavaScript heavy. If you know JavaScript and that's your thing, then yeah, I would recommend using D3 or Chart.js or something like that. But Bokeh is web ready and it's all Python. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds there. But yeah, if you do need to create something a little bit prettier, this is not the prettiest, but it's very functional. So, and I think that it's looking, some of you data scientists can tell me why this looks like not very smooth. I think there's not enough data there. I think it's just looking jagged because there's not enough points there, but.
I think it's
Day 9 could be that there could be some lag between where it registers the temperature is at a certain point where it turns on and the time it takes to bring back to the temperature.
Well, I mean, even inside of here, this is where it's looking jagged to me. It's not smooth. I think there's not enough data there to actually make it kind of smooth. Because this is like one of these inside, one of these like outside, I think. But no, that can't be right. I just grabbed his data and just ran with it.
What did you do it as a line, or did you do it as?
I just did it on line. Yeah. There's probably a way to smooth that out, but I don't know.
You can do that.
Yeah. So it's like looking like, I don't know, it just looks. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about there. I think it's just not enough data points there. If you had more points in here, maybe? Yeah.
Looks like interval also looks like quite a few variations.
Yeah. There's probably a way you can get like a standard eve and then like draw like a something smoother, right? Yeah.
Well, if you
Yeah.
have-
You make it more sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So, and then you're going to also be able to write a Python script to add data to SQLite and then embed a bouquet chart into a Flask app. All right. So I have foo bars here for the setup and the SQLite part because you guys are going to do it on your own as a little review. So, all right, so what are the steps for starting a Flask app from scratch?
Virtual environment.
Make a directory.
Make a directory. So what's that virtual M? Virtual M. Make a directory, CD into it, that sort of thing. You need to be in that directory. Then do the virtual M. However you handle that. What's next?
And to get started.
Ooh, add it. If you are doing a Git workflow, great time to like add Git on there. So that's, I don't know if you guys are operating a Git, but that is like a great time to like set up Git. So I'll just put like that as like to whatever to add Git optional. What you're doing there, but free.
Install.
Install dependencies, yeah. Install Flask, any other dependencies you might need. Then what? Create an app.py, create, like your main Flask app.
Why did you choose a specific Flask version in the tutorial?
So that's why it's future-proof, the tutorial. Okay. So if Flask gets updated, someone can go back to the tutorial.
So that's good general practice.
If you're writing curriculum, yeah, I mean, from a curriculum standpoint, yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, I mean, dependencies, like, if there could be like breaking changes,
Okay.
depending on if they're using, how they're using versioning. So it's generally a good idea to just just be mindful of that. So create your app.py, and then conquer the world. Yeah, know the world.
Sanity check.
Yeah. All right. So let's go with that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And maybe everyone else might have seen this as well. Every time I set up a virtual environment, I'm in Python 3.4 and 3.6 because I'm using that scale. I'm using this virtual environment. Every time it still has me at like PIP 6 or something. It's not me upgraded PIP every time. Is that because of
Yeah, I see stuff like that too.
So, when you start your virtual environment, and then I guess it's using whatever's in it copies whatever's in your system into the virtual environment, and when you start doing it, it says, oh, well, this is fine. So if you want to avoid that, update your system first. The fifth installment to PIP.
I guess I just
And
been
then-
entirely in virtual environment since I upgraded to 3.
Naturally, right?
Most Linux distributions are still stuck on 2.6, but in the next year or so, that's gonna change to 3. I know Ubuntu should have changed already to 3, but Red Hat and CentOS are still in 2.6.
I actually don't use Ubuntu, so as far as Linux.
Yeah.
I get the control when I use it.
Which one do you use?
I just like most of the Linux on Exchange. Yeah, so just regular. Make sure you get
Yeah, I mean, if it's a new installation, you should already be on 3.
Yeah, I can check in what I have on there.
Because the main thing that's been holding a lot of these systems back is that when they go
So, yeah,
because, like, for example, Semi, Red Hat and CentOS, but they don't use icon based, so if you change the system to 3, break it up.
Okay.
That's why a lot of them haven't pushed an update.
That is a good point and solved the problem that I couldn't solve.
There you go.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah, so I know like in the next major version of Red Hat, they will up to 3, but still will be a couple years out on that one.
Michael, do you usually initialize a new GitHub repo from the command line, or do you go to GitHub and open it there and then send it to a repo?
I start from the command line.
What do you do to do it from the command line?
Well, you can't interact with, like, you're talking about adding the interaction with GitHub there?
Yeah, I'm actually, yeah.
Yeah,
just
I mean,
like to commit something and then push it to a repo that you created from the command line.
I just do git init and then I'll go to right to GitHub,
That's
and
what
then there are some command line tools where you can interact with GitHub through your terminal, but I don't use them.
I just like to keep on it. Yeah, I just keep doing this. I just have one. I just want to go. My workflow is always like,
Yeah, because you're right, it does slow down your workflow. Anytime you have to touch your mouse, it slows your workflow down. And so if you can keep your hands on the home row or your keys on the home row without touching your mouse, like, your workflow will just speed right up.
Right, I was like trying to figure it out yesterday. I was like, you gotta do it.
Yeah. You could make one. Like, all you need to do is have your API keys, and then you could just you'd have to have some tools to, like, create a command line utility for that. But I've seen them out there.
I was just wondering if there's like something standard that people use. I saw a couple packages that do similar things.
Yeah.
I was just surprised it didn't just work out of the box or something. I usually set it to ignore your environment as well. You put the environment to ignore. Or you put the environment.
Yeah, I always put it in git ignore. Because if you want somebody to use that project, you want them to download the dependencies on their own. Yeah.
Uppercase Flask in the first time out there.
That's just how it's named.
It's conventional.
I mean, that's just how the Flask object is named in the library. Yeah. Doing this from memory, so I can't remember everything that goes in here. Something.
I watched your video, just writing this stuff.
Oh yeah, don't look at don't look at that. Oh yeah, we need to create an instance of Flask. Something like that. Yeah. What else? Oh, app.route.
Yeah, that's right.
That's it.
Import SQL whatever else.
Oh yeah. I just want to get a quick sanity check though.
Oh, you spelled all over wrong. I tried to put set the debug to the true. They say you can do it at the button, initially before you define a function.
Yeah.
But it wasn't working.
It's a different syntax.
I was thinking I would get that one too. Yes, I did that. I mean, I did it in the right format, but it wouldn't. I could only get it to work in this.
What are you running that has this little dots in front of the,
This?
yeah, what is that?
This is PEP 8. It's just automatically linting it. I'm checking it for. I got a linter in here like PyLint, and then also it's.
the plugin?
Um,
I feel like I have that date. That's not happening. It's not working.
let's see.
The one I'm using is Flake 8. You have to make sure you actually go out of your way to install the binary.
Yeah, I had a whole bunch of problems with that. I loaded it up and I was just having like error after error after error.
It can be a little sensitive. It can be a little sensitive at first. The main one that always catches me is the character
Yeah.
limit.
Yeah, you can also set up configuration file to ignore certain things if you want.
Yeah, a lot of times it was like this is I'll have a line that's like this is a character. There's nothing I can do with it that can make it better.
Yeah.
I just wish I could say ignore that one line.
Yeah.
Because I still want it on there.
Yeah, I think there are ways where you can pop something above a line and it just ignores the linter. Yeah, I can't think of the syntax for it, but yeah, I use linter -pep 8 and then linter -pylint.
Did you write that down somewhere?
Yeah.
Never know how things are spelled. It's just okay.
You have to install linter too, I believe. So linter is just kind of like a framework to enable, like you to install like other linters. Yeah. What was the other one? There's PyLint, and then there's also like PyFlakes. There's a whole bunch of popular ones. Okay, anything else I need to do here? See if that works. Okay, cool.
But I take all my dot files and then I upload it to GitHub, and then it doesn't work. Additional changes, and I've got my environment right there.
Yeah.
And then I even, I
Where do you start? I mean, you know, calculate / photos. How do you get it?
yeah, so I'm literally only pulling in.
Okay. Let's set up SQLite now. What do we need to do to get that going?
Import SQLite.
Do we need, sure, are we, what are we doing at this point? Like, are we setting up SQLite? Are we accessing something in SQLite? Are we adding data to SQLite? Are we creating a database? What are we doing like first before we start like importing stuff?
Create the database.
So we want to create the database, right? There's a number of ways we can do that. We could do that manually outside of our application. We could create a new file to handle that stuff, make migrations and all that good stuff as well. The way that I like to do it just in like this, I don't like to tie it to like my app because I don't want it to like running that each and every time. So maybe like creating like a db.py file. So create db.py. Yeah, like importing SQLite 3.
So one other cool thing from the creators of Flask is a command line utility pool or framework called Click. So you can use Click to create your, this is your one command, your one file to create database command within this. Or
And you can think it uses the decorator pattern too, where you can just like that's your name, but then you call that.
I've been using that.
Yeah.
Command line utilities, right?
Yeah, I tend to couple Flask with Flask Migrate and Flask Script. Flask Script is like it does like the exact same thing.
So
Yeah.
Click replaced.
Yeah, it didn't. I mean, it didn't replace it, but Flask is that's just like Flask extension. Yeah, Click is awesome. Let's see what else we want to then. What's the next step? Let's data. Let's create. So yeah, we need to create a DB. We can use the with context manager. Yeah. So create DB. Within that, I'm probably going to create the table. And then probably seed it with some like intro, some data, so we have something to work with. So you can kind of like combine those into like one function. You don't even have to write a function if you don't want. You can just toss it in there. Depending on how you want to do it.
cd.py sits in the application directory.
Yeah. You can just put it right in the root, yeah. Okay, so def create Help me out with some SQL here. Create table. And then table name.
Table name.
And then something like that.
The column types.
It's in parentheses or it's in params though. Okay.
So the example before you used triple double quotes surrounding the, or in place of the next single quotes, you had triple double quotes.
Oh yeah, that doesn't matter. Like I did that probably just so I can have stuff on multiple lines. All right, so we want what kind of fields do we want? We're gonna have a temperature field, and then we're gonna have a date, time date. Yeah, so temp. I'll put these extra ones. I actually put these both in as floats, and when I built this sample, so you working with date time can be a little bit messy. So the data that we are working with, I don't know if you looked at the data, but it's like an ISO date. I don't know what date time is inside SQLite, so I think that's why I put that in as real. I can't remember.
I think you slide back on C dot execute, by the way, to begin that one. I can't read exactly.
Yeah, you have execute instead of execute.
That's how it should be spelled.
I say it all the time. The world says that.
You're saying that's fake news, that it's spelled the other way. Where are we getting the grants from?
It's in the repo. So I'm gonna put it like drop DB right before this. So def drop DB. So it's like something like drop DB if exists. Is that right? Who knows SQL?
That's right.
That's right.
Drop table.
Oh, drop table. Okay. Yeah, that'll work. So we can drop the table. Actually, yeah, that'll work. All right, let's do a drop table instead of drop DB. Yeah, because we'd have to delete the file and actually the drop the database. Okay, same sort of thing. Drop table if exists. So if we don't have like a drop table if it exists, and you could actually, I mean, there's no reason to abstract that out to another function if you don't want to. You can just put it like right up here or something in your create DB. So the reason, if we don't have that, each time we run the create DB, if the greenhouse table already exists, like we want to drop it, or else it's going to throw an error. All right, before we put some data in there, let's just go ahead and test this out. So Python db.py. Okay, I didn't get an error, and I also got a database over here. And then using that cool tool I showed you guys last time, the SQLite database browser, let's just check and see if it actually is working. Cool, so I have a greenhouse table, and I have the fields right there. Probably the easiest way to probably do it is if you want to get this exact file, what I would do is I go back over here, go back raw, then select all, copy, and then paste it over here. Just pull it as a file. It's within that you can't pull it, you can't get clone. Yeah, you can't get clone file or a single file.
How did you call the create DB? How did you call that function?
It will be called automatically. Okay, where are we at? Do you want me to slow down? We fine? Speed up? Good? Okay, I got one good, so I'm just gonna assume you speak in the class.
I give it a thumbs up.
All right, if not, just speak up.
Can you make that a tiny bit bigger?
Yeah.
Or I can do it.
Wait, where we created the DB, where is the DB actually residing?
So with SQLite, it's actually just a file. So if you can see, like, you might not be able to see it, but it's actually right there in the root directory. So you can specify where you want it. So it's literally just putting a file into the root directory. That is our database.
Greenhouse.db?
Yeah.
When you ran it, and created it?
Yeah. Is it not there?
I think it's gonna put the DB wherever you're running.
Okay, never mind, yeah, I was just rerun.
It should be where the file
Yeah, it should,
is.
it should default there.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting at the root of the current.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so mine is just in the root. Is anyone else having trouble with that? Okay. You can also do like, what's this? Does anyone know the syntax for in memory? Something like that. Let's try it out. Yeah, that didn't work. It actually named something that.
Well, I think it's because you put it.
Yeah, there is a way to like just put it in the memory, so like you can.
There's a trailing colon on that. If you had it right.
And isn't a string like that?
I don't recall.
And you said to view it just for a sanity check, make sure so you use the DB browser .app.
SQLite. Yeah. Okay, all right, so the data that we are working with, I placed into the repo here. So if you go to main directory, it's just under data. So there are 10 files here, or 12 or 13 files here. If you open it up, yeah, it's just like, I don't know, there's like 10 or 11,000 rows of data in here. If you haven't cloned this down, the easiest way to get it is to just get it from the repo, click the raw button, Command A, so to select all, copy it, and then just go to your project, maybe create a new folder or a new file called data.dat, and then just paste it in.
So where are we getting this?
So that's from the repo.
Okay, can you show that?
Yeah, so if you just go to github.com/realpython/webdev for data scientists, it's under data. So there's like 13 files there. You can just grab the first one. Let's not worry about all that data. Okay, so I'm just going to write a function that seeds the data. So let's just name it seed. So in here, we need to do a few things. So we need to open the database. Actually, I don't know the order on this, but between 1 and 2 here, I can't remember the order. So open the database, and then open up the data file. Probably like iterate through the data file, and then use a insert statement to insert data. So open up a database connection, open up the file where the data is. I'll use like a for loop to iterate through the data, and then you can use an insert statement to insert the data in the database. That's probably the brute force approach to it. There's probably some like Python helpers that will allow you to do this a little bit later, but just for our brute force, we can do something like just this simple. There's probably a way to iterate through the data in a very elegant way to get it into the database rather than using a for loop and then an insert statement. I think there's actually a SQLite method too, maybe like a, yeah, there's an execute mini, and then there's like, yeah, there's like a dictionary, like a, probably some like comprehension or something like that you can probably use, but I'm just going to use like a very brute force approach. All right, so let's go ahead and open up the database. So with SQLite 3.connect. Create that cursor so we can traverse the database. Okay, so now we can go ahead and open up our data file. Okay, so with open, and that will be data.dat. Okay, so now we can iterate through that. So before we do anything else, before we actually insert the data into the database, let's just look and see what it looks like, just brute force like. So for row in data, just print the row. just see what that looks like. See what that looks like. So, okay, here we are opening up our data file. Here's where we're iterating. So we haven't done this last one yet. We don't even need the cursor at this point. Okay, I'll test that out. Okay, so you can see the data there. Let me zoom in on this. So you can see this is the ISO date stamp on the left, and then you can see the temperature on the right. Okay, now Bokeh does that. For times and dates with Bokeh, what do we know about that? Did you guys get into the time and dates at all? A little bit? It uses a date time object. So at this point, you could ask yourself, well, I could put that date time object probably into the database somehow. I could put an ISO date into the database and then worry about it later on. There's a number of different things that you can do here. Totally up to you, totally how you are going to be using that data. Maybe somebody else has access to the data that doesn't want this like Python date stamp. Like they just want like an ISO date, or actually this isn't an ISO date, this is a Unix date. So maybe they want, it just depends on the format that you want. You can also see here there's a new line. So we need to handle that. So we just do like string replace. So iterate through the data. We're going to have to do a little bit of munging with it, and then we can actually use our SQL statements to insert this into the database. So, okay. So what can we do here? We can do a row.split on the new line. And now if we print the row, that should be clean.
What's the CSV file? Using CSV module.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
That'll take care of line endings and quoting, other nonsense that might be in the file.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see, what do I need to change down here then if I'm using that?
So with open data, that is data, and then you say, then you create a reader object with
Yeah.
your file name. So you say your CSV reader is CSV.reader.
So I can say like, actually, so would I do that entirely over here?
Within the width. No, yeah, just right there. So reader is CSV.reader equals reader equals
Okay, yeah.
CSV.reader, and then your file, so the file object data is your first argument.
And that creates
a
a
reader, and you say for row in reader, and it'll be a tuple of whatever.
perfect.
He imported CSV.
Okay, there we go.
Now you have a list of the items, and then so now you can just feed that. Now that you have reader is going to return that, you should be able to feed reader directly to execute many without even doing the iteration.
Now I can do, yeah, you're right. Let me try it this way though first. Insert into greenhouse, and then values. And then that will be, oh man, I would have to actually, and I could just do row. Here we go. Okay. So we can pass it that list. And then using that syntax, insert any greenhouse values like that, it'll take the values from the list and insert them. So if we test this out now.
You have to import CSV.
You have to import CSV. You don't have to pip install it though, it's part of the standard library. Okay, so now I'm just going to test this out in SQLite. All right, so there's all our data now. So you can see there's 11,786 rows. Okay, questions on this? Okay.
What are the rows and columns?
What's up?
What are the rows and columns? I'm sorry, what are the columns?
Temp and time. And are those in the right order? I didn't even look at that. They're not? Yeah. All right. Let's flip it in the schema. Okay, that should be right now. Okay, questions thus far? Got our Flask app, we got some Hello World going on there. We can read a database. We got some data, munged it a little bit, and then we put it into the database. Cool. So I just comment out and create DB and then run the C.
Why are you returning the truths? I'm just curious.
I get into the habit of functions return stuff so I can test it.
See
Yeah.
when they're called.
If I'm going to throw an error, maybe I'll return false or.
Okay.
But I always like functions that return things. It just they don't return things, and it's like you have a half sandwich. You know, it's just like doesn't work. But yeah, just get into a habit with that. Okay, so a lot of the stuff that I was going to have you do in this data wrangling section, we've kind of already done. So before you probably want to do all this, it's like kind of ask the question, do we need to normalize the data? Like, I guess we kind of already addressed that a little bit with date time. If you do need to normalize it, when do you do it? Can you put it into the database now? Do you normalize it in Python? Do you normalize it manually? A lot of just questions you have to ask. Fortunately, the data that I got from Rick was already in a very nice format. I didn't do anything with it. That's pretty much why I use this data, because I'm not going to get some crazy data out there just for this course. But yeah, the data was already in a nice state. Yeah, so we already created a database schema. We already added the data to SQLite. So now we can really just hop on. We can just put a bouquet in there and deliver something right to the end user.
So in the demo that you put together, why was there a third column and like we call type that was parsed?
Because I was differentiating between inside and outside. Because there's two different data sets there. This is going to be only a single line graph for now. I just want to get this going, and then maybe we can work on adding a second line to it. We've already kind of gone over this, like what's bouquet. So Python library that abstracts out, or What's the other name of it? Boca?
Okay.
Boca, okay. So what is Boca? It is a Python library that abstracts out Boca.js. Why would you want to use this? So it's Python and it's on the web. So there are some other visualization tools. There's Panda, there's Seaborn, there's ggplot, there's PyGal, there's Plotly. I have used most of these. I like Bouquet a lot. If I don't need to do a lot of stuff with pandas, I'm not going to pull on pandas. Pandas is large. Sometimes, I don't know if it's pandas or NumPy, but there can be some C library issues. So if I don't have to pull that in, I won't. I do like Plotly a lot, but yeah, I haven't messed with Seaborn. Does anyone use Seaborn?
It's largely just Plotly with a little stack. It's stacked onto Matplotlib.
Oh, okay.
My experience.
Huh.
I find in most cases, there's no reason to use Matplotlib. It's better and it's easy to use.
Oh, really?
Better defaults.
Yeah, if you just import it and use Matplotlib, it improves the aesthetics of your standard Matplotlib plots. You can do some pretty cool stuff, but it's not web ready stuff.
It looks like this is a Continuum project as well. They have so many projects. What's that? Continuum.
Seaborn, I actually got kicked out of there from Stanford's web series.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Continuum just picked it up and they're maintaining it now.
In a way, we're a continuum project. iData is
Yeah.
under NumFocus, which spends a lot of money that builds continuum products, including Pandas and NumPy.
Yeah. They're really good, like, we're just managing open source projects. They need to, like, do a bunch of education around that.
Founder of Continuum created. Travis Old.
I don't know.
That sounds right. Yeah. Yeah.
Created NumFocus, the co-founder of.
Yeah, I think NumFocus is their 501c3.
Yeah.
So what they described that I didn't NumFocus is like to bring in money and be the sort of administrative part so that people doing open source projects don't have to try to do administrative stuff as well in terms of funding.
Yeah, at the last, I think the Anaconda Con that they had, they announced a lot of like interesting projects that are going to come out. Like one was like kind of like bridging that gap between like Excel and actual real data. I feel like, whereas like something that like even a layperson can use, but it was actually like backed by a database and all that, versus like just storing the data in Excel. But they had some pretty cool projects there.
Did you go?
No, I just retweet everything. So, all right. So let's get Bouquet or not Bouquet. Boca. Let's get Boca going. So pip install Boca. Oh, this is actually pulling in NumPy too.
Yeah, it works on top of the arrays.
And Tornado. Okay, so I'm just going to create a quick route just to get a line, just a basic line chart up. I'm not going to pull in any data from our database just yet. I just want to make sure I can get everything set up with just like a basic chart. So let's create a new route. I'm just going to call it chart. And so from here, I'm just going to pull up the data I'm just going to pull up like an example directly from the documentation here in PyData. So they have a decent example here. So I'm just going to copy and paste this. And then we have to make a few changes to get it to work with Flask. Okay, so we actually don't need the output file or use this output file method or use the show method, because we are going to use the Flask render template to handle all this. So we don't need that, and we don't need this line, and we don't need this line. So that's all we need from that code. You guys see this, right? You want me to zoom in? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is fine. This is fine.
This is better.
This is better.
With the web pages.
Oh.
Yeah, that's totally.
You can't see that.
No.
This entire time you haven't been able to see it? You haven't said
The
anything?
webpage. No.
Okay,
Sequence
all right.
start, but-
Yeah, we could start install.
All right, just want me to zoom in on this. Better? Farther? I can read just fine. I don't know why you can't read it. Okay. So all we need from that is to create a figure.
So you're importing it in the function itself instead of just in like the top of the.
I'm gonna move it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
this is just temporary. Just temporary. Like, yeah, there's no space there. It's just temporary. So right now, all I need right now is to create a figure and then populate it with a line. So you create a figure is like the basic thing you do with Boca, and you create basically a chart, and you can set like your width and your height. There's a lot more options there. But this is just basic. And then you set up a just a line here. There's other methods for other types of charts, but let's just use this basic line chart. And then we pass in our X and Y, and then we specify a line width. So that's all that's doing. So at this point, we need to get this to work with Flask. So yes, I'm going to move this to the top. And create chart. Okay. So now, in order to get this to work with our Flask app, we have to do a couple of things. We have to add a template. We will use a template engine 2 to render out some HTML. We also need to, well, actually, if we go to the site, actually, I can't pull up that last chart. But basically, if you have anything that you interact with on a website, you're going to have some JavaScript there. So Boca makes it interesting, or makes it nice to work with, because you still do not have to use the underlying JS if you don't want to. It just packages it up for us, and then all we do is we just send it along, and then use Jinja to append that to the DOM, or to get that onto our HTML. So it's just an embeddable chart that not only includes all the HTML and CSS, but all the JavaScript as well. We don't have to know anything about it, which is really cool, because you guys are Python developers and probably don't give a crap about JavaScript, right? Or maybe you do.
Everyone wants to be free.
Okay, so there are some imports that we need to use with this. So the first one is components, And components does two things. It renders up our HTML and CSS, and it also renders up our JavaScript. So this is a nice method that we can use that comes with Bokeh that we can use to create a script tag. A script tag just literally is a link to a file that contains our JavaScript, and this is all abstracted out. We don't have to know anything about that, and it also creates basically a HTML element that we can use on our inside of our HTML. So let's start with, and then there's this inline and inline. I haven't fully looked at what inline does, but based on what I have seen, inline just creates that our static files that we would put into our header into a traditional HTML file. And again, you don't need to know anything about this in order to get this to work. So let's start with just with that. So we're going to need those imports. So from bokeh.resources import inline, and from bokeh.embed import components. Okay. Okay, so now we have the inline. Inline was what we use to create our JavaScript and CSS, and then components is what we use to create sort of that modular embeddable object that we can put on to our HTML page. Okay. Okay, so now we can create those, basically those resources that we need. So, and actually, you know, these are probably, I don't actually know what this render CSS is doing now that I think about it. There must be some styles in there that it's using. So if you don't use this, one thing you can do is just grab, you guys know what a CDN is? So CDN is a content delivery network. It allows you to get like static files from the web, and it takes advantage of caching. So with caching, so if I went to a site, or if Chris, you went to a site that maybe I run and it has like just a static file on there, it'll download it once. Let's say someone else has a site, uses that exact same static file, uses the exact same CDN, it'll just be cached. So it'll speed up things. So there are some popular CDNs out there. One is called CDN.js. I always use CDNs for static files if I'm like pulling in like Bootstrap or pulling in some JavaScript file. I more often not use a CDN. The only time that I don't is like on Airplane, like, because you won't have access to this if you don't have the internet, right? So you can grab Bokeh directly from here if you wanted to. If you do it this way, though, you do not need to do this here, because this is doing the exact same thing. Only this is not coming from a CDN, this is coming from your internal library. So some examples on the web of Bokeh will use this method. Other examples will use the CDN method. That's all that's happening there. So it can be a little bit confusing.
Is there a difference in speed as a user? I mean, maybe not with this Bokeh, but in general, like CDN versus library.
I would say CDN is faster, especially for popular things. If you know, if it's like a really popular library, you might as well take advantage of that caching. So your browser will cache that static file, and if you go to another site and it's the exact same, it will just like go to the cache. So that'll be faster. There is an uptime issue though with CDNs. CDNs do go down, but they probably have a better uptime than like your web server. So more often than not, I'll use a CDN. Okay, so going back to our example here, let's I'm just gonna create static files, and let's go ahead and say JS resources equals inline dot render JS. And then we can do that exact same thing for our CSS. Okay, all right, so now at this point, one thing we now need to create that embeddable component. So we're gonna use that components function that I was just talking about, and in there we're gonna pass in our chart and also the line that we created. So script div equals components p. Okay, so now we can use the traditional render template, and all we need to do now is just send this along to Jinja, and then we'll have our Jinja template grab this stuff and put it onto the HTML page as necessary.
Do we need to import a render template from class?
Yep, yeah. So render template, and inside here we start with our file name. We can call this whatever, it's just chart.html. Okay, so now we can use sort of the key value pairs, pass this stuff onto the DOM. So we're first passing on our, let's see, what is that? Plot script. So that, oh yeah, that's our script. And then we got our plot div. So the div is actually going to be the chart itself. And then we're sending on our JS and CS resources. So the plot script is a custom JS file that has our custom scripts that we need for the chart that we're creating. The JS, the CSS resources, these are static files that are being supplied by Bouquet. So this is akin to using a CDN. So you don't need these if you're using a CDN. But this one you need, because this is the custom JS that gets created with this components function. Does that make sense? So we have the bouquet.js file basically that allows us to use Bouquet. And then we are creating a custom chart that has custom JS in it that is going to be separate from that bouquet.js file. And that is this plot script here. Okay, so let's go ahead and send these along. Okay, and this is throwing an error because I need to, I'm gonna scroll up real quick. You don't. You don't. It doesn't matter with the tuple.
So, well, the nice thing about when you're doing it like that, the nice thing about always leaving a comma there is if you copy and paste a line, you add another argument. You don't have to remember to add a comma. The only place where it ever really messes me up is if I'm using a return. If you have a return value and a comma, it winds up as a tuple. And there's no real clue that my return value is wrong because I left a comma.
This often throws me off because in JavaScript, it generally doesn't like stuff like this. And there's a lot of linters out here that do not like you doing this. So when I go from language, oh yeah, yeah.
When I'm doing dictionary and things like that, I like to leave the comma, or if I'm doing this, I'll leave the comma instead of copy and paste the section of it.
Okay, so what next? What do we need to do now to get this to render correctly? Chart.html. Where does that go? Templates directory. So let's get that directory. It's going to go into the root. And then from there, chart.html. Okay, so from here, I can just type HTML, hit enter, magic appears. Okay, so we need to get our JavaScript, our CSS, and we need to get our plot on here. So we need to use the Jinja template tags for that. So all right, I'm just going to pseudocode this out. This is not going to probably work, but this is going to get you far enough. Okay, so we have our CS, we have our JS. There's a plot as well. So what was that div plot?
Can you remind me how you got that to auto-populate?
The HTML. You just type HTML and then hit enter.
It's called plot div and then
It's plot div.
plot underscore div.
And then there's one more. There's like plot scripts.
Above is it? JS.
It's up in the head.
Yeah, plot script.
It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter where you put this, but actually that does matter because that chart is dependent on it, so it has to go before the chart. So you could put it right here, or you could put it in the head. It doesn't matter. The JS resources should go before the actual plot scripts because plot scripts should be dependent on that. I don't think this will work right now.
What's the name of this HTML file?
Chart.html. I don't think Jinja will actually allow us to pop in scripts like this and run scripts, because that should be actual security issue. So I think you have to like indicate like, hey, this is okay. Like, I think there's like a safe keyword or something, but I don't know. Let's just test this out. Charts. Okay, so. Okay, so that's crappy. It doesn't throw an error. Man, there's not anything in the JavaScript console either. That's not a great way of handling that. This is, what is this though?
Oh, it's because it's HTML coding here. Right?
You got a new site.
Oh yeah, yeah. This thinks it's actually HTML, so it's escaping it basically.
Yeah.
So this is basically just thinks it's like just HTML. So yeah, you need to tell Jinja that this is okay to actually render as a script. So there is a way to do that. I can't remember offhand.
Site.
Pipe safe. Okay.
Pipe site. One.
In the example that you gave, there was a type in div and then type safe.
I know in my own little doodles, you do just type safe like that. I don't know.
Okay, so that's the actual chart that is going to get rendered. So this is the HTML for it. Not a whole lot of HTML. So if you want to know what's happening there, it's creating a unique ID there. So the ID equals 03EE. And then basically we have in our JavaScript file, you could go into that file and it's going to be targeting that chart and then replacing this. It's going to be appending the chart in there.
Where are you at?
I think you have plot scripts plural, and it's plot script.
Okay. Yeah, because I opened up the JavaScript console, and I'm getting an error in there.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just on mine.
I'm just gonna double check. Plot script, plot div, JS resources, CSS resources. So yeah, you're right. So plot scripts. There it goes. So there's our chart. Yay. Yay. Okay. Now we actually need to get our data into this. I'm gonna pause for a second though.
Yeah, so I'm getting, could not find tag with ID. Okay.
I see your. Try to move that plot script.
That's where I
That's all header.
Yeah, it's trying to find the script is actually trying to target that. Yeah,
It's a lot of data.
we don't want to actually listen from JavaScript. It's something that you
Okay.
So you go back to your.
Yeah, there's anybody to. I'm getting it.
So I'm just.
see if it's a similar thing.
That's not part of the script.
Okay.
So we're gonna see.
Yes.
If possible, I could.
Oh,
yeah. Stuff away by the time I was those two.
So when you're in your template, all it does is it causes a file notes. Passive variables to assign to those imports.
Can you
like that?
get it? Or no,
You're saying that like experience asking these levels. Yeah, so like sure. Okay. Focus styles. So you can have that right. This is all I'm going to contract, not CSS. Right. Or am I? Oh, what was that? These are like the titles. These are the keys in the dictionary, right? Okay, so I want that. In ways we're doing probably which one
give us a little bit.
Through the dashboard.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way
Trying to
Yeah.
create that table.
You're saying like.
Well, you already created a DB, right?
This is.
Yeah, you can
I
just.
was kind of following along my head. Just change the data and it's whatever you need. Like,
Okay, yeah. So that's grab that.
I don't know if that's.
Here, it's not returning template at all.
How far do you think?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, we said okay. You guys got the already here. We got the, I think the HTML file already set. Yeah, so you just display your app, so that should be okay.
My app?
Yes. The app is.
We'll just
Closing.
You're not recording.
So it did,
Get it going.
yeah.
You can't find chargers.
Where did you say it?
Oh, it needs to go into your settings. That's why it sounds like it. And usually it was installed like. Good? No, thanks.
you got
Are you good with the
sources?
Pretty good.
I haven't used those since.
I have that here.
Well, right, this might not. Here's always. So it goes through.
You don't have to pass the round. Oh, I see.
You're right. So you mean, but no, I added that to it now, so I can lose everything.
Our end was slash.
So that was. Did that, it says I'm running on the master rate. I push this, and it says I'm on. Yeah, it's just. Okay, so you just see. Get the fence. And then the difference is it says here's my order, here's the one that's all. I did that no, yes, it did say that, and I was gonna, or I copied this, so put it in there, it worked, but then the only other option, it says merge, I'm certainly not gonna like, if you just say go to max, then merge, it needs to go through. No, that would be more. If you do merge, it should be okay. Yeah.
You can't believe this, because it's a good success. It would be important if you're trying to hold this.
No one else.
I actually use this on this only, it's only.
I saw that's good.
Oh, yeah.
It's really fun, actually.
How's it going?
Exhausted.
Yeah, me too.
How you living, baby?
Teaching Python. Yeah,
Real man's language.
right. Did you see my Slack about Evan?
Yes. I have to look at my calendar,
Yeah.
but like, I don't know, I'll get back to you.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. Cool. Awesome.
I'm out of here, man.
Yeah, have a good night.
Are we supposed to be doing that, or is that what you're gonna walk us through? That adding to the.
The steps are broken down.
You have to put it on.
Just want to check all this.
Anybody want a beer? Somebody's got a lot of beer.
No, actually, like.
Take all the beers, please. Drink the beers. It is not. I'm gonna take the calls. I'm gonna try and hide them here.
Yeah, it would replace. You're just replace this right here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it's gonna replace.
Yeah.
I haven't messed with it. Well, no, I did that earlier. I deleted my recall, and I tried to re-forward it. It says it already exists. And I won't let me do it. I deleted my forward.
Okay, so there's one last step. The last step, we have to grab the data from the database now. So basically, you open up your database connection, you grab your, select all from Greenhouse, and then the data needs to replace this data right here. So it's just put all your X here, put all your Y here. That's pretty much it. There's gonna be a little bit more you'll want to do up here, like add some labels. But other than that, there is gonna be a file, like a conversion though between the Unix date stamp and what Bokeh wants. So Bokeh wants that NumPy.64 date time, if you guys are familiar with that. Yeah, so you want to probably pull in NumPy and then convert that ICE or the Unix string to that date time, so then you can get it. So
you might have to convert that Unix time to seconds to probably nanoseconds. So
you could probably just convert it to just the hour, minute, second string, and then pass that into the
I see.
Yeah. There's a number of ways you can do it. I think NumPy is some help for that.
And this is a 2-day time function that does a lot of good stuff. With the NumPy vanilla function there is. Pandas you could probably, what do you do with it? You can't directly query the database, but you can probably read it into something and then just have it read in as a daytime without any sort of.
would you please show the imports at the top?
Oh yeah.
There's nothing that doesn't.
Okay, do you guys want to try this on your own first, or do you want to code along?
We can use the functions we just did in the other.
Yeah.
But we don't need to create the tables. They're already created.
They're already created. Yeah.
It's just the type of chart
Thanks, Red.
Such a class. Very nice.
templates, not directory.
Green.
I don't know if I'm gonna skip that.
I thought, I thought y'all had. Well, I understand it was weird.
Yeah, maybe somebody.
They were.
They have been getting a lot of those, you know, a lot of those. I didn't drawing with them now.
I would have one of these, but the mountains are not. The mountains are not. You know, it's not like, you're not supposed to drink until the mountain's cold, right?
You get one of the bottom ones.
Thursday will be cold.
I mean, it's kind of blue.
That was good, but I'm like a little bit colorblind.
Unless you're really seriously.
I told my boss that he thought I was talking to him. I was like, seriously, you don't want me building PowerPoint decks. Like, seriously, this is a major problem for me.
Yeah.
He's not buying it. So
Everyone's doing this other quick question not related.
I'm saying that.
Yeah.
I teach my
So here's my guy.
Maybe. I spent like 15 minutes running back and forth.
URL for yours. The original. So,
It was all just because I can't.
2 years?
It was started out. Oh my God, I had the glasses on.
Just do it.
Yeah, there's my house.
It's not just, that's a big thing.
Right, like there's like letters.
Yeah, anytime you do that,
I can say that.
Is this like you?
No.
You found your data? Well, so you didn't have to.
You know where it's like that.
I don't hear you. I see your files.
Yeah, and I.
That would be one question I want. Yeah, why do you have to do that for the data? Because I got some, you know, I stick with data.
So all this is.
Oh, it's in this.
Yeah, it's just.
So here I just do data. Yeah, that's your. Yeah. Database.
And this
I'm just saying, you know, it's just effective, you're using it, absolutely.
You don't want that.
Okay, good, I didn't say what.
Yeah, right, I'm not saying it shouldn't be there, but will it work? So that's in that C. You should just be able to build it out.
This is.
So try that, just try leaving copies. Or just, you know.
Seeds around where the results from the query into that P.dot line.
Just take that.
Well, I mean, you just run P.dot line or whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So mine, I put it in data query. So you don't have to get. You convert that. So just a data. Oh, I see, so it's.
But I don't know if that's.
So you don't have.
It's running now, you just have to syntax there.
Okay,
You have that sorted out.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Are you guys doing this right in your route? Or you guys?
I was trying.
Yeah.
The
Oh
definition
man,
under the
that's
route.
bad. That's bad. That's bad. No, I'm kidding. So you do actually want to abstract this logic outside of your route. Keep your route skinny. So even like this code here that I put in here, like it doesn't need to live inside the route. You can abstract it out to another function and put it in a helpers file. There's no reason to put it in there. Like the route, all it should do is handle request response. The request comes in and it should send something back out. Now, if it needs to do something else, like just abstract that out into like separate functions.
Each one of those data files was a separate data set.
I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look at his email he sent me. Okay, so there's the first one. Got my database connection. Let's generate that SQL query. C.execute. Select all from greenhouse.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the date time thing. You can still create the chart without it. It's just gonna look all wavy, wacky.
It likes it now. Yeah. Thank you. Very excited.
I was trying to do this, and this does not work. Because it does not return an actual, it just keeps it as a cursor.
Yeah, you gotta move it through cursor. Does that help or is that?
No, it's fine, no, I'm just,
Yeah.
it's not as efficient as I'm saying, like you can just grab a column.
Yeah. There's ways to do it as well. It's just, it's fine. This is fine.
Question. You really was my question on that. Mystery. So yeah, then
You return as an object.
okay.
Or a dictionary if you want to do. Okay, call the keys.
Okay.
Right. Whatever. You just have to think about what is that P dot line or P dot figure, like, what does it take? It takes like 2 arrays. So, you probably don't want to conform to that because you just want to get that, just keep that separately. Yeah. And then deal with that.
Yeah, my SQL is.
Yeah. You try to rank them again. The image is there. I see. Can you print out the row? Or do I see guys? So see. I'll go back to your code. So iterate. Don't iterate your data. Iterate. So yeah, so you don't do that. So actually, I did what I did.
Oh, random here. Sometimes if I'm trying to test code in my app.py, what I'll do is I'll just throw it into my main. I'll throw it before I do app.run, and I'll just take a look at it. I just want a quick sanity check. That's all I was doing there if you were watching my screen. So I have a function here that gets the data. So it just connects to the database, selects all from Greenhouse, and I'm just going to return all the rows. And I'm going to deal with the data now. In my route handler, we'll probably still abstract this out into another function, but I'm just going to return the rows at this point. So these other two things, the formatting the data and updating a bouquet, I'm going to actually handle in my route handler. So we're going to call get data right there. So that's going to be our iterable. Is that the right term? It should be an array. So just call it all data. So we're calling get data. Get data then is returning this thing we can iterate through that has all our data in it. So now we can move through it. So for data and all data. So now we can just pass this. Actually, let's not just pass it directly in. Let's create a couple containers first. So X, Y. If you see like our plot, our line here takes two arrays. One is for the x-axis, one is for the y-axis. So basically my thinking is, let's iterate through this thing and let's just create two arrays that can move that.
So skip the iteration and use zip.
Yeah, you can do that too. I don't know if everyone's familiar with that though.
Okay, so zip is a function built in Python that puts things together but takes them.
Yeah.
So in this case, we have a row, which is a list of tuples with 2 items. And if you do zip apply the entire set, you'll get a list of 2 tuples. Instead of a list of tuples of 2, you'll get a list of 2 tuples of split. So you can zip apply equals zip apply rows. Not apply, but the star, which is the purple one. So then you don't have to iterate over it.
Yeah, if you refactor it, like I would use zip. Yeah. That's for sanity checks. I'm just doing a brute force here. But yeah, there's a ton of other methods you could use. All right, so iterating through this, I'm grabbing the first value or the first element in the list, and then appending it to X. And the same thing with Y, only just using the second value. So that creates all of the things I need for my XY axis. So now I just pop in theory, I can just pop in X and Y there, and we should be good. If this is all working right. Okay, so mine works. I'm gonna blow this up really quick to show you what it looks like. So you can't read this, right? So you would want to mess with the chart size. So let's change the width to 1,000 just to see what it looks like. Okay. So at this point, our y-axis has the temperature. Our x-axis should be the time. This is why we need to change the format of the time and dates. Because this is like, it's rendering it as not time and dates. So we need to change it to that date time 64. So if you're Googling, maybe Google Unix to 8 times 64 or something like that. What's there? So now what's so trying to find it.
It's like a way graph.
Not
So I created a template directory and then
the x-axis is Just looks like a chart instead of.
So you need to do the same.
Is this creator style in unique?
Yeah.
So.
So I'm in E12 at this point. You're in the 9? Yeah, I'm.
I got the
So you're
same
in
thing.
the.
Yeah, I just need to.
You're just gonna convert it over. You're gonna.
Yeah, like, I mean, there is an actual, like, month there as well, so you can't just convert it to like minutes and seconds. I don't know. Yeah, I think you have to actually, like, he was saying you have to turn it into a string date before you pass it into. Yeah, there's probably, I think, you know.
You do datetime dot from timestamp, the value, and then dot ISO format, maybe the string.
Is that default right to do like that? If it's year, month, what format is that?
ISO format.
It's not ISO. Okay. As long as that NumPy.
It works.
Oh, yeah.
Would you use Carl?
Datetime dot from timestamp, the value, dot ISO format. As a method call. So you can do a list comprehension on your X values with datetime dot from timestamp X dot ISO format for X in the time values.
Yeah, right here.
It's kind of like that SQLite and stuff. You can just see the way to query this in the environment.
SQLite 3 comes with
Oh, it's-
the library, yeah, so it's automatic. Yeah.
All right. Refresh.
Because you're trying to append something to.
Oh.
Create a dictionary there.
Should have.
What method are you using? Datetime what?
Datetime dot from timestamp. So if you're doing this, you'll want to put it around line 31, do a list comprehension on your X.
I could just do. Well, I could
Or
just.
you're gonna convert it as you're doing it.
Yeah. I know there's more efficient ways of doing it. I'm just trying to
So,
simplify it.
So then your value zero is what you're doing, and then you'll want to use the ISO format. So dot ISO format will give you a list of strings.
Okay. That's a method?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So that'll convert that into a string representation of the timestamp. So the year, month, day, time, hours, minutes, seconds.
Still, yeah, we still need to pull in NumPy.
Yeah, so NumPy in the homework had an example of how to do that. Apple did it. So it was after the fact, so after you build your list of strings,
Mm-hmm.
you can say NumPy or NumPy.array,
Mhm.
the list of values, and each type equals date time,
Mm.
and it converted it all.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely would not want to actually do this inside of a for loop because you could run into some memory ramifications of reusing like a generator. Probably be fine, but I'm just to keep it simple. I'm just going to do the string side here. but this is just straight brute force. So I'm going to install NumPy. Oops.
Then you need to tell your figure that your x-axis is a date time.
Yeah, because that's still going to come over as a string. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there was an argument, it's x-axis.
Yeah, just one thing at a time, though. I'm going to get to that. Okay, so this here is converting over the date time to just string format. And then from there, there's another method on there called, you can do .iso format. There are other ways of doing this stuff, but this is perfectly fine for this. And then pull in NumPy. I just did import NumPy as NP. And then NumPy has a datetime 64 method. I would pass the date to. We still have to tell OK that this is actually the date. So we have to actually change. I think it's up here in the x-axis. What do you guys think of the bouquet documentation?
Didn't look at it yet. Is it good?
I think the
You didn't do the homework then, sir.
No, I said I didn't.
That's right. Okay.
The walkthroughs are really good.
Yeah.
It's a great example.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Straightforward. Explain things really well. You guys are part of the staff.
Okay, so if you go to the NumPy documentation, they have this place where you can specify access types. There's a number of different things that you can put into here. Since we are using a date time, let's see what we can put in there. So x-axis type is date time. And now if we refresh, now we have some dates. So you can actually format that a little bit more with how you want that date time to look like. You can pull full timestamp on there. You can do a number of different things, but That's as far as I'm gonna go.
Drop back into the.
I couldn't get the fetch over one, is that what you're doing?
Here, I'll take a look at it.
Well, I did it to a select star, it does the same thing.
Oh, x-axis.
Oh, I did, I'm doing a select star. Maybe something on there? This is working fine.
Oh, you need to do. Rows. So.
I got cars, I don't.
Yeah.
I did know, yeah.
Don't take out that whole thing, just take out rows. So you still want that sequence name out there, so you want to do curse dot.
See that on?
Yeah. Yeah, with that other line. You want the curse dot execute, select all from greenhouse.
Yeah, I'm confused. Oh, this one works.
But take out rows now.
Yeah.
So just don't assign it to a variable. So take out, so just do, yeah. So now do rows equals curse dot fetch all underneath that. And then return that, then return rows. You can't do that before though.
All right.
Yeah. So now you have two returns. Make sure.
Yeah, I was gonna, I mean, that doesn't work. Then. So can I write this one out?
Yeah, just take that out.
So, Boco,
Yeah, it was. I don't know. Using time as a name was throwing it off.
It's
So you
like
can
that.
skip that whole
Yeah.
ISO format.
Yeah.
Turn off, and just the
Yeah.
whole
Right.
conversion.
Okay.
It's Carl, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Carl figured out you could just use just the string.
No,
So-
the native daytime object.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so take out the ISO format, take out the NumPy conversion, and just append the date object.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, that's nice.
So we don't even need to pull in NumPy. Let me just check. I'm just gonna test that. I'll pull it back up. Sweet.
It was working.
And then take out the .iso format as well. What is that daytime 64 objects? What's the difference between that and what's on daytime?
It counts for these items.
Oh, okay.
You don't say about the axis, I mean, I
Or
understand converting it, but mine still shows that.
and it's a continuous counter that counts the lead seconds. So the lead seconds are added or removed, it continues to count where Unix timestamp works. Rewind a second.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Just say excess.
So in Unix timestamp, a day is
Under type.
whatever, number of seconds in a day, always, so you take a timestamp, do division by number of seconds in a day. Sure. But if there's lead seconds involved.
Yeah, but this is this dude's greenhouse or whatever. You said?
Cool.
It's everywhere.
here.
You got it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because that's just anywhere.
Yeah.
All right, for those that are done, try to do a multi-line chart. So grab some more data.
Crazy.
Do the whole thing over again.
Probably get you up to speed here, I don't think we can say that.
Like sometimes we need more data.
There is more data.
Like, yeah, well, look, we can see. No, it's so big.
There was some piece of this.
You need to get through this first, reach out to clients tomorrow with that. Well, just post your code. If you have any problems, like, you can hear us and let us know. And we'll get where you need to be. I don't want to.
I think you'll do that.
We don't need to, we should find a key in there.
You know, future point in time that we're doing stuff.
I like asking too, I think it's makes.
Yeah, I didn't do this. That was posted, there was an error in something that's kind of tutorial.
Yeah.
I didn't look at it again until this morning.
I did it all last.
Yeah, that's what I did last week.
That's pretty good. I feel like it was good to get me familiar with this particular syntax.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, what were you gonna say?
You could have most of what you need in here, so.
I'm super.
I was gonna say, I was gonna write it down.
Certain states.
You guys do mastery tracking? Data science program?
Sorry, what?
Mastery tracking? You went through the data science program.
My sure that's.
That's just not an issue, probably.
Mastery tracking is like something nice, where it's like.
How proficient you are.
They'll probably equate it. I'll fix that piece.
Sounds like a smart idea to me. Just let you know where you need to focus.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious about looking at Right, I think pretty much you're expected, that is basically expected to do your job. You can't really work on it.
Scroll to the top. So they need to get data, but let's look at your get data. So
Take on it.
field function to get, oh, that's what I'm saying. So we need the, I see. There. So we get data is almost a copy and paste. So the copy and paste on your database file, right? So what you're gonna do is SQLite greenhouse.dbs connections, so you're doing tables cursor, and then instead of creating a table, we're going to c.execute it. And that is just, that's just code. This is my get. That's all. No, this is, yeah, this is gonna be your app.py. So it just needs to be up above this. Well, the DB is already, you have your DB.py here, and you have your greenhouse DB. So with it, well, yeah, this needs to be in here in order to clear these database tables. That's what I did. I just copied and pasted this and then changed. That's exactly what I did.
Does anyone else have a problem?
Oh, sorry.
I have a question.
Oh, 3 people. You guys all set? I'll let you know.
Chris,
Oh, wait, look.
I have a question.
Yeah, it's up.
I'm doing this. I'm still getting these.
Okay, so go back to your laptop.
Mine, yeah, mine. This is my guess.
Yeah, looks like I have that file. And I bet you didn't put down here, you did a comma after this argument.
After farm.
Yeah, after that, and it's like x underscore axis as the x underscore axis underscore type equals
X underscore axis.
underscore type equals AI. Equals, yeah. That should do it for you. Yeah. So we got
Gosh, it works, yeah.
Hey, I got it. Thanks. Yeah, I was trying to do my own thing.
yeah, I do.
Chris,
Okay, 2 bucks.
That's
Question.
so you're going to plot another subset on this.
Hey, I don't know if this is the easiest way to do it. I'm just gonna open and insert here and then open and insert here in the same date.
Okay.
Don't know.
What are you doing for saving?
I'm gonna create down here. Slot it.
Fine.
Let me see your question.
Yeah, I actually have a reason. Before we jump in.
Well, the short one's not.
Pretend there's, so this is for each column. Pretend there's 4 columns, but I am an execute insert statement from 2. There's still an error. There's an insert. Which 2 is the first 2?
I'm not positive. What I think would happen is that you would generally see it was smart enough.
Right.
Yeah, it just does the utility and ignores things that shouldn't happen. In my experience,
I was just curious because the way I was thinking about this is basically average definition just added 2 columns, which are going to be the new characteristics. And I didn't know if I would have to make them.
Maybe like a spelling issue. From bouquet dot plotting import figure.
is that right? Yeah, you don't know.
It's anyway, it's just like yeah. Right. So it's like, yeah.
Like my deal with SQL is always get everything like
Shape file.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
as much as I
they
can.
got the glass. That you're gonna link, like.
I do get a lot.
The shape.
You want to pull it up here?
I don't offhand. I don't know.
Alright.
If you want to, are you on Slack?
We got a second one?
No.
If you want to Slack for that question, because I'll probably forget by the time I get home, but I can take a look.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's all I'm going through the homework. So let's see. We already did this drop table, so you don't have to do that one. So I don't exactly know how the data is structured. This is Rick's data. So you could actually pull, what I did for that demo that I showed you at the beginning, I basically took like the second DAT file and I was like, all right, I could just use this, assuming it's like the outdoor air or whatever. So basically you want to drop so if you want to do that, you want to add a field to the database. So you want to add like a type to the database or like something to indicate whether it's coming from, hey, is this the inside or the outside? And so I just added a field called type, and then I took one of the data files, and when I inserted it in, I said type inside, and then for the other one I did type outside. I don't know if that's correct based on the data that he gave me, but he wasn't responding on Slack, so I just ran with it. So from there you can see the database. And there isn't too much changes there. You'll just have to add another field on there. And then you can convert it to a multi-line chart. So a multi-line chart will take pairs of X, Y. So you have to remember that, because I like dumped all my X's, or actually no, it takes all the X's in an array and then all the Y's in an array. Because I actually did the reverse, like I paired it together to begin with, and it was like doing all kinds of crazy things. So that was like the caveat there. Yeah, from there, so next week, I'm going to show how to interact with an external API to grab data. The easiest way to use that is use this awesome library called requests, pip install requests. And then this sample here just pulls movies from the OwnDB API. You don't have to have an API key. And this is all the syntax that you need to do to get that to work. So this will pull data from that OwnDB API and then return it as a JSON response. So for next time, let me know where you want data from. Is there an API like Yelp or like, I don't know, what would help out in your everyday jobs or something like that? What's that?
Twitter files?
Yeah, the thing with Twitter, we would have to go into, first off, everyone would probably have to have a Twitter account, or some people wouldn't be able to. Does anyone not have a Twitter account? Okay. So I guess you guys could sign up for a Twitter account if you want to. Yeah, we can pull data from Twitter. And the thing with that is we have to get API keys, so I have to go through and kind of like environmental user API keys, and you obviously don't want to put those up on GitHub, so I would probably show how to do that. Yeah, you can do that, but yeah. Does Twitter sound good?
Sure.
Pull a bunch of tweets from Twitter.
I figured it'd be entertaining.
Yeah. Actually, before this, I did a training for the Gnip team. You guys know what Gnip is?
Yeah.
Firehose. So I had full access to the Firehose for like a month. It was sweet. Yeah. Because like basically like the streaming API, what they do is they literally do a map.random from like 0 to 100, and when they're pulling data from like the Gnip API, they'll just grab like 1 out of 100 and give it to you.
Even that's that a lot. I was crushing my storage on AWS.
Yeah.
I had to slow down.
Yeah. Gnip is like access to the Firehose. If you want every single tweet, you can get access to it.
I don't know how much more velocity and volume there's been since November 8th.
January 20th, in particular, I'm sure sounds fine.
Yeah.
We had
probably a ton of analytics you can do around that.
Josh from Gnip spoke at our Christmas party.
Yeah, I don't know, John.
He's a data scientist over there.
I know like the services team, so I didn't. Okay. They external facing.
He's the only guy I know. He's a data scientist.
Yeah.
API thing.
Yeah, this is awesome how to access the API. Pull all kinds of data. Any other questions?
Yeah, so in my job, I'm working on a classification, classification problems, and one of the things is that you look at like current usage of our services and try to determine like what was classified correctly and do like crazy and square.
Yeah.
So what would be a good with The Luca, be a good toolkit to like to run this. So basically, in Python, you collect the data, the statistics, but then I want to present like the the performance, and not in a curve, just like basic square.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know.
It looks like it's mostly applauding.
Kind of depends on your audience. Like if it's space scientists, I think there should be a problem in there. Something like I see, actually see more. Can you do this in that public?
Yeah.
So, Chris was saying C1 is just like a nice wrapper on top of that. I'm sure you could probably do some more as well.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, I was thinking that already done with the PNGs and then serve the agents.
Yeah,
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, if you don't make it a little bit All right, well, stick around if you have questions. Otherwise, have a good night. See you in 2 weeks. Anyway, that way, if you're doing a lot of
Yeah, that's really bad if the space heaters on. Oh, like later to the space heater.
So it's good enough.
Grab some road gears, guys.
Where's that?
Oh.
I'm not kidding, I'm serious. I'm not kidding at all.
See, how do you just slide on?
Oh, that.
You already did that now.
It's fine. The only thing I've done.
So the school.
I would say it's.
Your keyboard has.
No, it's amazing. I had it for so many years, but now it doesn't really.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks, man. Take care. I know, right?
It is.
Yeah, that's smart. I'm gonna teach over.
You are. I will bring you some. I don't know, something else.
Water. Water's great.
Really like that.
Yeah.
Ginger beer.
Here's great.
I don't know if it's focus. Yeah, I get like acid. Like, also I like to do my tea.
You can take the notes.
It calcifies your body.
And I should have this, there was no higher letter, so I should have.
That's what I went to school for. I worked in chemical engineering.
You still there?
No, just help me.
Okay.
It was pretty simple.
Yeah.
It was just the x-axis. I did the date time, not date time thing.
Yeah.
It was still in the E, and I didn't have the access.
Oh, yeah, you have to label in there.
Type, yes, date time.
Cool.
Yeah, I have a question for you. You're a guy named Robert Price, Chosen, or?
It was terrifying.
Sounds like it, yeah, something,
Yeah, yeah. He contacted me and asked me if I would hire people or take a class or, but one of the things he suggested was I could give a presentation.
That's great.
So pretty cool. What kind of stuff would you like to hear? Anything like technical or just like stories? You know, I'm 62.
usually, yeah, it's.
I think that would be
It's not like
massive.
you're- yeah, analysis,